United States and China, turn 1. The American economy in this version of the game is split, so you have to specify Atlantic and Pacific. The Atlantic side has 35 IPCs to spend. They're going to spend 24 IPCs on a carrier and a destroyer, and 11 IPCs on a tactical bomber. On the Pacific side, one of the things that the Americans do for the first 4 rounds is they get to basically spend 10 IPCs and purchase another country's tech. And so they're going to purchase Italy's propaganda tech. Now, Italy doesn't lose that tech. It's just that the Americans gain it for 10 IPCs. They have 7 IPCs left. They're going to save an IPC for next turn, and they're going to spend 6 on a sub. The Chinese have 14 IPCs to spend. They're going to be purchasing 2 infantry and 2 artillery because the Burma Road is currently open. The Americans have no attacks because they're not at war, but the Chinese will be attacking the Japanese in Anhui. And they will be coming in with 2 infantry from Hunan, an infantry from Kwaichao, an infantry from Hopei, and the fighter from Sichuan. So we'll see how that attack goes. We only have 1 battle to roll, so let's get to it. Okay, the battle for Anhui. 4 Chinese infantry and the Flying Tiger American fighter against a tank, an infantry, and a mechanized infantry. So 3 and 4 ones. No hits. That's not good. And then 2 twos and a 3. 2 hits. We'll go 1 more. See if we can get any hits. No hits. That is bad. Okay. 1 hit. Okay, obviously the Chinese are going to retreat. This is a pointless battle. Disappointing. Disappointing. But they will be retreating to Hopei. Okay, non-combat for the Americans. The fighter from eastern U.S. is going to go to C-Zone 101 and land on the newly built carrier. The transport in C-Zone 101 is going to go down to 89. It's going to pick up the Central American mechanized infantry and the West Indies infantry and come back to 101 and drop them in the eastern United States. One of the infantry and one of the mechanized infantry from the central United States is going to move into the eastern United States, and one of the infantry and mechanized infantry from central is going to move to the western United States. The strategic bomber from the central United States is going to go 5 spaces to Hawaii. Finishing off the movement here in the Pacific. The fighter from western United States is going to fly to C-Zone 101 on the eastern side of the board and land on the newly built carrier. The tactical bomber from the western United States is going to hop onto this carrier, and the carrier, the battleship, and the submarine are going to go to C-Zone 26, along with the transport with an infantry and an artillery. In Hawaii, in C-Zone 26, the destroyer that's there is going to move up to C-Zone 25 and act as a blocker. The Chinese movement is relatively straightforward. The fighter is going to land back in Sichuan. And then there's going to be some movement of infantry. That guy's going to stay there. 1 infantry from Yunnan is going to move to Kwaichao. 1 infantry from Yunnan is going to move to Hunan. And the artillery from Yunnan is going to move into Sichuan. So that'll be it. So once we tidy up the board, we'll come back with placement. The Philippine moves. The fighter from the Philippines is going to go to the air base in Guam. And the destroyer and the transport from the Philippines, the transport's going to load up 2 infantry. And they're going to go to C-Zone 48, just off the Gilbert Islands. They're not going to land in the Gilberts because they're not allowed to yet. They're still neutral, but the 2 infantry will still be on the boat. Okay, so that is that. Placement of new units. We're going to put the new tactical bomber in the eastern United States. We're going to put the new destroyer in C-Zone 101, and we're going to put the new carrier in C-Zone 101 as well, and land the 2 planes on it that landed in C-Zone 101. Over in China, we're going to put all of our new purchases in 2 areas. We're going to put 2 artillery in Shenxi and an infantry in Shenxi, and we're going to put an infantry in Sichuan. Over here in the Pacific, there is only actually 1 placement, and that is a submarine in C-Zone 10. Okay, in terms of income, nothing changed on the tracker. So this is what we have to deal with. So the Americans on the Pacific side of the board will receive 17 IPCs plus the 1 IPC that they saved for a total of 18. Plus they just purchased propaganda, so they're going to get to roll these dice in a sec. The Chinese collect 10 IPCs, and the Americans on the Atlantic side of the board collect 35 IPCs. So the way the propaganda works, I roll 2 die. The higher of the 2 die is how many IPCs I add to the Pacific side American income. So 3 additional IPCs. So that's 18 plus 3 is going to be 21 IPCs that they're going to get a chance to spend at the beginning of the next round. So 21 IPCs on the Pacific side, 35 IPCs on the Atlantic side, and the Chinese get 10 IPCs. Up next is Italy, who right now, remember, is neutral. Cannot attack anybody, but cannot be attacked this turn either. So we'll see what they do next. Forgot to do the disposition of forces. Okay, for the Americans, on the Atlantic side in the eastern United States, 4 infantry, 1 artillery, 1 tank, 2 mechanized infantry, and 1 tactical bomber. C-Zone 101, 2 destroyers, fully loaded carrier with 2 fighters, and a transport. On the Pacific side of the board, in Guam, there's a fighter. And in C-Zone, what is that, 48 or something like that? 48, we have a fully loaded carrier with 2 infantry and a destroyer. In C-Zone 25, there is a destroyer. In C-Zone 26, there's a fully loaded carrier with a fighter and a tactical bomber. There are 2 battleships, 2 submarines, 2 transports. In Hawaii itself, there is an anti-aircraft artillery, a regular artillery, 3 infantry, and 1 strategic bomber. In C-Zone 10, there is a submarine, and in the western United States, there are 2 infantry and 1 mechanized infantry. Along with in Alaska, there is an infantry. For China, this is what we have in the middle of the board here. Sui Yuan, 1 infantry, Hopei 1 infantry, Shenxi 2 infantry, 2 artillery, Kwaichao 1 infantry, Hunan 1 infantry, Yunnan 1 infantry, Sichuan 4 infantry, 2 artillery, 1 fighter. Okay, so that is the end of the turn, and we've done our disposition of forces. So again, as I said, Italy's up next.